I think it's a foregone conclusion for everybody that some of these executives of like these huge companies like Take-Two, EA, hey, don't sneeze in my face, Warner Brothers, they're very like, of course, money oriented and focused, but they also just don't know when to shut up in terms of things that players don't want to hear. It's like when the Warner Brothers executive said, yes, we're doubling down on all of our live service games, and we think we have not even close to enough. We think we can do it for all of our major franchises, and there's a lot more room to grow with it, blah, blah, blah. They always do this. And there was another instance recently that was relatively interesting that I thought we could address, because this is going to be the first of many things that happen like this. Take-Two's CEO thinks AI-powered NPCs could be, quote, really fun. Doesn't sound that interesting or novel at first, but let's dig into it. Days ago, Rockstar Games confirmed that the trailer for GTA 6 will drop in December, and that announcement alone broke social media platforms worldwide. It did. I've been saying for years at this point that the day that GTA 6 is announced, it will start a year or 2 year period of utter insanity. Like already when there's nothing to talk about, those GTA YouTubers and TikTokers are insane. And it's all, did you know that when this thing happens, it's gonna blow your brain away? And then there's also going to have real-time alimony payments and blah, blah. Like, it's going to be so insane with people just making stuff up. So buckle up. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, recently, Take-Two's CEO, the parent company of Rockstar Games, spoke about generative AI in gaming, stressing that one key area of improvement could be non-player characters, NPCs. He suggested that everyone is working on it, attempting to make NPCs much more interesting for the player to interact with. Finley's trying to like hop on top of the monitor. Hey, can we not do that, buddy? Thank you. So I agree, everybody's working on it. And to allow me to like sell the vision, I've used this clip before. It was actually an NVIDIA, it was like a tech demo for generative AI voice acting and stuff. It was really weird because this is the aspect ratio for it. It is like ultra wide. So when we go full screen, it's like a tiny little bar of footage. But what they did with this demo is they showed the potential for this. So they used, of course, a very beautiful scene, but then generative AI to have the player character speak directly to this character without any scripted dialogue options. And what this would look like is that, hold T to speak with Jin. You can just talk to NPCs in game through your microphone, and the NPC can understand you and still give you key information. So just to show you how this works, the character sits down.
Hey Jen, how are you?
You can see it's using the microphone, so it transcribes your voice into text, which then it sends off to whatever server, it translates it, and the NPC can respond using generative AI.
Unfortunately, not so good.
How come?
I am worried about the crime around here. It's gotten bad lately. My ramen shop got caught in the crossfire.
Can I help?
If you want to do something about this, I have heard rumors that the powerful crime lord Kuman Aoki is causing all sorts of chaos in the city. He may be the root of this violence.
I'll talk to him. Where can I find him?
I have heard he hangs out in the underground fight clubs on the city's east side. Try there.
Okay, I'll go.
Be careful, Kai.
So right off the bat, of course it's clunky. The voice is like also AI generated because they have to dynamically do it, so it sounds weird. But this is like a tech demo proof of concept. If like this is not the end result. This is not what Rockstar Games would put out in GTA 7, right? Like this is kind of trying to sell the vision to executives who would then pour billions of dollars into developing it. But at least hopefully with this, you can see why developers might think that this could be really cool. You could be playing something like GTA 9 or whatever it would be, and walk up to NPCs, any NPC in the game, and just straight up talk to them and be like, I need a haircut. Where can I get a haircut? And they can just tell you, oh, it's a couple of streets back. There's a barber on the right side of the street. Thank you. And then you go and you do the thing. And it's a dynamic, organic thing that happens. And so, of course, this is what developers are working on. They want to make this happen. And so I don't think it's crazy for them to think that this is a novel idea or to think that this could be interesting in a game, because it absolutely could. Imagine the announcement of like the Elder Scrolls 6 and just being like, any NPC in the game you can speak to either through typing dialogue or speaking through the microphone. You can talk to anybody. They have actual schedules and lives, and they have opinions and emotions that we all simulate in real time. It could be really, really cool. Now, of course, you're going to have people that go in there and just are like, lol, you want to see my butt? And they have to plan for that. How do you respond to that? But the core concept, the idea is cool, at least. Ranger McKay, thank you real quick for becoming a member over on YouTube. Appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate you dearly. And Sober, thank you for subbing with Prime as well. Appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate you. The question everybody then follows up with, will GTA 6 have that? And as of right now, nobody knows. Nobody knows. The way he followed it up was the interaction is currently scripted and the non-playable characters are generally not very interesting. You could imagine all the NPCs becoming really interesting and fun, seemingly out of nowhere, if this got working. We've already seen AI-driven NPCs surface in mods for popular games like Skyrim, and so it's not that far of a leap for top-tier developers to start featuring them from the get-go. And this is true. There are mods. Let me see if I can pull one up.
This is Herika, the first AI voice companion in the world you can actually talk to using your voice. Herika, can you carry my burdens better than Lydia?
Oh, you poor thing. Are you still traumatized from the last time Lydia dropped all your pots and pans? Don't worry, moist boy, I've got your back and your burdens. Plus.
And you can even customize her voice, personality, and turn her into your ultimate Skyrim waifu. But you're probably wondering to yourself, how well does this Skyrim mod work, and is it going to be worth the money and time to set up? First, meet Moist Boy, a very damp level 1 Argonian.
So you can just like talk to the AI and it just works.
Okay, are you well?
Oh, moist boy, you never fail to make me laugh with your creative mispronunciations. But it's Harika, not Erica.
Oh,
and I'm doing just fine, thank you.
This is mind-blowing. So I
Like, can you see the vision? Do you get it now? Like, with your companions being able to actually talk to a character that seemingly, allegedly, has a personality. Of course, it's got a long way to go. And the other big problem with this is that as it is right now, and this again will change, almost all of these mods and things that rely on OpenAI or like ChatGPT tie-ins, they use what are called tokens for, usually it's a set number of words. So like 4 words roughly is a single token. So when you go in and you send like 2 sentences worth of text, that might be 8 tokens or whatever it may be. And that has a certain cost associated with it because it's not cheap to run the server farms that do this. You know, it's kind of a big deal. And so to get something like this working in a game where you would have, say, 10 million players all jumping on at the same time when the game launches, I mean, if you think server load times are bad now, this could become extremely problematic because they would have very limited amounts of server infrastructure available. And then also the cost for maintaining a single player game like this long term would be astronomical. And I think that might be part of the plan, you know, in order to get something like this working in, say, a GTA 7, because I don't think anybody really expects it to be in GTA 6, you would need long-term sustainable cash flows to justify the expense of this, because this is one of those things, and for preservation people that are kind of, I guess you could say, activists for game preservation, this would be a nightmare for it, because the moment that they can't justify keeping that generative AI server infrastructure tied into the game, it will just turn off and the game will be broken then. Like, you won't be able to talk to NPCs at all. The whole thing would just collapse. So there's many problems that tie in with it. It's not as simple as just, oh, that's a cool feature. There's 1,000 other things that can come in. If you can even download an AI like that, I don't know, it may be too large. Well, that's the problem, Ethan, is that with this like current hardware, you can't actually, in most cases, just download the AI and run it off your computer. And these guys almost certainly would not want you to do that, because then there's the potential for data mining and things like that. So they'd much rather just keep it in the cloud, and then you have to always be connected to the internet to do it. And we've heard this from many other companies, such as the Scalar tech from Ubisoft. I've mentioned this many times before because they announced this a while back. This was March of 22. And basically they showed their concept for what they are working towards, which was engine tech that is built both locally and on the cloud, but it's all meant to tie in together. So you can replace one chunk of this without it affecting any of the other pieces. So the part that simulates AI and NPC movements and attitudes and behaviors, that's a separate node in the overall structure of the engine. So it's no longer something you just download with the game to run the game. It's tied into server infrastructure. It's tied into your local representation of the game on your SSD. It's a much more complicated system than we've seen before, but that does enable them to do crazy things on scales we've never seen before. All of this, I think we're going to start to see tools and systems similar to this come together very, very quickly, probably in the next few years. We'll see one game announced using tech like this, and then we'll see two others announced using tech like this. And out of nowhere, you're going to see games that have Earth-sized maps and millions of NPCs or 100,000 NPCs or something insane like that, each with their own day-night schedules and all of this. Like, MMOs will change forever. There's so many things you can do with this tech. It's honestly mind-blowing when you dig into some of the details of what they're able to do with it. So I think games are about to change fundamentally in a lot of good ways, because they're going to get bigger and badder, but a lot of the other ways that things have been for years and years and years are also going to change. The idea of like offline gaming for a lot of these big quadruple A titles and quadruple A open world games, I think that's largely going to go away. All these games are going to become online only, not because they're just trying to lock down, the pirate problem, but also just because they physically cannot run the game without it being tied into their server infrastructure. And that's going to be really, really frustrating, because it's going to mean, like, if your internet goes out, you can't play the game. If you don't have a good enough connection, you can't play the game. Like, it's going to be very, very annoying and frustrating, and it's going to piss many, many people off. But hopefully, like, it's not a question of if it happens. It will happen. That is where we are going, and there's nothing we can do at this point to stop it, because they're going to pair it with gameplay mechanics and features that are so crazy, it's going to be hard to argue that the game doesn't look fantastic. And, like, frankly, if they're saying this over at Rockstar and they're describing how they're interested in developing tools and systems like this, Red Dead 3 probably uses something like this. GTA 7 almost certainly will use something like this. So, like, those games using it, every other studio at that point has a green light, because they will get away with it. They got away with so much stuff with, like, even NBA 2K, and that's not anywhere near as big as GTA. So just wait. Like, it's going to be mad. It's going to be mad. I doubt a pirated version of an AI assisted game would even work. It would need server info. That's what I'm saying, Whippy. That's what I'm saying. It's like, they're not doing this always online thing to just fight piracy. They're doing it because it needs to connect to the servers. It needs to tie in with all of this cloud infrastructure, and it won't run unless it's always online. It's not like they're requiring it to check in with their servers to make sure it's not a pirated copy just because they want to avoid pirated copies. They're doing it specifically because they are, like, the game won't run. So for them, it's a win-win. Like, they have a built-in excuse to have it always online no matter what, and players can't really complain about it because the game's able to do a lot of really cool stuff as a result of always being online. So I know, of course, some people don't want to tolerate that type of thing. Maybe I'm just crestfallen and I've just given up at this point. But at this point, it's clear billions of dollars are being poured into these game systems and mechanics. All of these engines are moving towards this. And it's going to lead to some crazy gaming experiences. But it's also going to mean that game preservation pretty much dies out entirely. And it's going to mean that everything is always online. I mean, there's going to be many, many other things that fall from this. So we'll get some stuff from it. We're also going to lose a lot of things for it. But I mean, that's all of life, is trading like securities and things that we are comfortable with for other things we like. You know, you trade your $5 to go get a fancy coffee from Starbucks. You like your $5, but you also like the coffee. So you traded it off. You know, you might sacrifice your freedom to, like, not be allowed to just like drink and drive, but you're sacrificing that freedom for the security of everybody else being held to the same standard and not drinking and driving, which makes it safer for everybody all at the same time. So everything is about trading those freedoms or liberties or whatever it is for other things that are maybe potentially more beneficial. In this case, you know, we're talking about video games. You're trading game preservation and always, or the ability to play offline, and you're trading that for really cool game mechanics that are not even next generation, like next generation, and are mind-blowing and crazy. And some people won't be willing to make that sacrifice, and they will not buy those games, which is absolutely their right. But I think, as we've seen for decades and decades at this point, a lot of people still will buy it, and eventually we will just grow desensitized to it, and it'll be the new normal. Just like we are desensitized to like all of these live service games and battle passes and all this other stuff that 15 years ago would have been laughable, paying $20 for a skin in a video game. Now it's like pretty standard. It's like, yeah, well, that's what they do, you know. He took my thing.